Hello, welcome to my, you guessed it, welcome to my Religious Life video blog. And just remember that Palm Sunday goes all the way up to Monday, Thursday, that was yesterday, about death and resurrection of Jesus. Now, we get inside Good Friday. And you know what that means? It means it's a Christian holiday commemorating the crucifixion of Christ and his death at Calvary. And it's always absurd during this Holy Week of Paschal Triduum. It has been preceding Easter Sunday, and it may coincide with the Jewish observance of Passover. You know, you could say Holy Friday, Great Friday, and Black Friday, or whatever happens, or should we say Black Monday, whatever. But here's your worst nightmare that you don't want to know. So many Christian denominations like Catholic, Lutheran, Methodist, and others, including my Episcopalian friends, myself, as far as we're concerned, myself. So here's your worst nightmare about Good Friday with fasting and church services. This is what, and now you know that the date of Good Friday varies from one year to the next. It has something to do with Gregorian and Julian calendars, and so it's Eastern and Western Christianity try to disagree about the computation on the date of Easter, and therefore Good Friday. Because Good Friday is this widely institute of the legal Fridays around the world. And you know why? Because it pays to be nice to people, whatever happens. Including most Western countries and 12 United States. And now some countries, such as Germany, have the laws prohibiting certain acts, such as dancing and horse racing, that are seen as a profane of the solemn nature of the day. Now, if I were you, I'd take no for answers, because I want to be in your shoes on your bed, on the shoes on the bed. Believe it or not, it does. So who knows? So here's my observation for you. Now, according to the accounts inside this gospel, inside these gospels, and it's something to do with the royal soldiers have been guided by Jesus' disciple Julius Iscariot, and he's gonna get ready to arrest Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. And Judas receives money of 30 pieces of silver. Now, get this part from Matthew chapter 26 says, and it says for you know the 30 pieces of silver you know from Matthew chapter 26, and it says try to betrayed Jesus and told the guards that whomever he kissed is the one they are to arrest. No, I'm not making this up. And you know why? Because it's happening out there. Now, here's your worst nightmare. Following the arrest from John chapter 18 says that Jesus has been taken to the house of Annas, the father-in-law of the high priest Caiaphas. And he was interrogated with a little result and sent bound to Caiaphas. I bet he's the high priest, where the Sanhedrin has been assembled. You know what I'm saying? Now, here's why. Now back to Matthew 26, as far as we're concerned. And this is why he tried to conflicting testimony against Jesus was brought forth by so many cloud of witnesses, to which that he answered nothing. And then finally, yeah, you guessed it, high priest has been adjured Jesus and said, I adjure you by the living God to tell us, are you the anointed one? He says, yes, you have said it. And in time you will see the Son of Man seated on the right hand of the Almighty. That means the throne. And coming to the clouds of heaven. And that's why the high priest has been, furiously mad. Mad. That's right. Mad. That's right. And that's why everybody knows that Jesus has been condemned to blasphemy. And that's why it has been sentencing to death. Now, Peter, while, in the courtyard, it also denied Jesus 3 times to bystander. When a cock crows 3 times, you will deny me. Cock crows, you will deny me 3 times. And that's why the bystanders, why interrogations try to proceed just as Jesus has been predicted. Now, in the morning, now, here it is. Next morning, you guessed it, the whole assembly brought Jesus to the Roman governor named Pontius Pilate. And I'm quoting this from John 18, verse 31 says that everybody knows has been charging to subverting the nations, opposing taxes to Caesar, and making the king of himself. That's I skip. Oh God, shame on you. Shame on you, bad boy. Anyways, Luke chapter 23, verses 1 and 2. Oh boy. Now, John 18, verse 31 says that Pilate has been authorizing the Jewish leaders to judge Jesus according to their own custom. And executing sentencing, however, the Jewish leaders try to reply that they were not allowed by you guessed it, the Romans, carry out a sentence of death. So, here's your worst nightmare. So here's mine. So here's why Pilate answered this question to Jesus. And there is no basis to sentencing. And upon that, Jesus from Galilee. And that's why Pilate tried to refer to the rulers of Galilee, King Herod, who was Jerusalem for the Passover feast. And Herod questioned Jesus, but he has no answer. Now, Herod sent back to Jesus to Pilate. And the Pilate told the assemblies that, he has no answer. That Herod found Jesus to be, who says? To be what? Guilty? Well, Pilate has tried to resolve this to Jesus to be whipped and be released that's from Luke chapter 23. And under the guidance of the chief priest, the crowd told the crowd has to ask, yes, release Barabbas, and who had been in prison committing murder. That's right, murder for insurrection. That Pilate says that ask this question to the crowd. What would you have me to do? Crucify him. Release Barabbas and crucify Jesus. Yes, you guessed it. And Pilate's wife has been seeing Jesus in a dream earlier that day, and she forewarned Pilate to have nothing to do with this righteous man. That's in Matthew chapter 27. Now, John 19. Now, John 19 says Pilate Jesus been flogged, and then brought him out of the crowd to release him. And the chief priest informed this one is going to be a new charge. Others so civilized about this one. Now, here's why. The crowd, coming for this, you guessed it, the crowd pleaser, one time, declared Jesus has been innocent and washed away his own hands in water to show he has no part in this condemnation. But nevertheless, that Pilate handed over Jesus to be crucified to forestall a riot. And in other words, you know what I'm talking about because everybody knows getting civilized about this one. You know, the sentence has been written, Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. And Jesus carried a cross, decided an execution. Just remember, executed a prisoner in America, executed, just like I have no clue whatsoever. Just remember, you've been executed by a prison cell, and everyone says everybody's been executed for no other reasons. So that is why everybody knows that it had been sentenced because why he claimed to be God's son. So who knows? Now, you might think so smart about the place of the skull or Golgotha in Hebrew and in Latin Calvary. And he was crucified under under these two criminals. And Jesus had tried to be agonized the cross for 6 hours. And you know why? Because his last 3 hours on the cross, from noon to 3, same thing as, Coast Memorial Lutheran Church does Good Friday service. For Good Friday service every year from noon to 3, and who knows? Here's why. Now, darkness fell over the land, and that's why he spoke. And quoting this from Psalm 22 says, my God, why have you forsaken me?" That's why he cries with a loud voice. And he gave up his spirit. And there was an earthquake. This tomb's broken in two. And the curtain temple was been torn from top to bottom. And this tear, according to this Christian tradition, that's why everybody knows they signify this removal of restriction of the common Jews from the temple's holiest of holies. And you know why the God's people themselves and all that stuff says, "Into your hands I commit my spirit." And everybody knows that Jesus Christ has been innocent. Truly. Innocent. Quote this from Matthew chapter 27. It says that truly this was God's son. Now, Joseph of Arimathea could be the secret follower of Jesus, has been not consent to his condemnation. And that's why he went to Pilate to request the body of Jesus. So that's why he takes full responsibility for this reason. And Nicodemus just brought 100-pound weight of spices and helped wrap the body of Jesus and the centurion, and you know why? Because everything else that the centurion informed that Pilate that Jesus was dead. And Joseph took the body of Jesus and wrapped it around a clean linen shroud and placed it in his own new tomb. Has been carved in the rock, in the garden, rock in the garden, that the site of crucifixion, and Nicodemus brought 70 pounds of myrrh and aloes and placed in the body. Now, keeping its Jewish burial customs, they rolled the stone away with an entrance of the tomb. And why? Tomb, and why? Because I'll tell you one thing is, because the tomb, they rolled interest in the tomb and they returned home. Now, have enough said. These things have spectacular things that happened. And you know why? Because it pays to be nice to people. So be it. So Sunday, when he because on the guess what? The third day, which known as Easter Sunday. So I'll explain this Sunday on my Religious Life video blog, that on the third day, which now known as Easter Sunday, Jesus just rose from the dead. And that's why in the first week, he is not here. He has risen, just as he said. But who knows? Because the moral of my Religious Life video blog is this. Because everything else on a Good Friday, and it makes perfect sense. Sound simple to you? I guess so. Anyways, that's my Religious Life video blog story, and I'm sticking to it. I'll see you this Sunday from lhmusictimeblog.weekly.com and youtube.com/lhmusic1 for the final conclusion of, you guessed it, Good Friday. Not Good Friday. Oh yes, conclusion of this Holy Week, from Palm Sunday all the way to Easter. So trust me about that. When we come back, hashtag I'm on fires only on Facebook Live with a Good Friday special edition at Christmas Memorial Lutheran Church. So stay with us.